the aspects that we wanted to make sure that we had was, it's not enough for the average everyday person just to know this. We had to allow them to have a means of accessing it. So we had to find something affordable in the tangible asset industry that the everyday person could get into. And of course, we share that with them through our seminars and workshops on how to acquire precious metals as far as silver and gold coins are concerned, to do the very same thing security-wise that people of extreme wealth has been doing for many years.
Well, you seem to be a major proponent of tangible assets. I mean, that comes across, very clearly.
Oh, absolutely.
But what is the fact? What are the facts behind the paper money that all of us have been taught to trust, whether it's just a savings account or 401k? What is the real truth behind our paper money that we trust inherently?
Truth or consequences? The truth and the consequences that we've suffered. The truth is, probably, 40 years ago or so, you could walk into any local store and you could buy candy for a penny. Now, I'd like to know where I could go in the Chicago area to get candy for a penny.
Not have it.
I've even asked individuals, and let's see if we can date you gentlemen this evening. What's the lowest you can remember buying gasoline?
25 cents a gallon.
Yeah, 25?
25 cents a gallon.
Right.
Okay. Now today, where can I go in the Chicago area and get gas for 25 cents a gallon?
Absolutely
Nowhere.
That's right. At one point, our dollar used to be worth 100 pennies, and it was actually backed by a tangible asset. So our own United States government was sharing with us in the early stages where your money should actually be. Now in '64, we went off the silver standard and we started using a debt instrument called Federal Reserve notes. That simply gave the government the opportunity to adjust the purchasing power of the dollar at will. Today, due to the economy, the rate of inflation, the deficit, the dollar bill purchases somewhere between 23 to 27 cents worth of goods. Now, if we look at a tangible asset like the American Silver Eagle Bullion Coin dollar, which is a tangible asset and its currency, everything you can do with paper money, you can do with that silver disc. Now, in that's $1 also. If you take that coin and go to a grocery store with a $1 Silver Eagle coin and a $1 Federal Reserve notes, they'll give you $1 worth of goods for that. But if you first take that coin and exchange it into Federal Reserve notes, you will find through an exchange rate you could actually get 10 to 12 Federal Reserve notes for that $1 Silver Eagle. Now, what did we just do? We just took something of value, of more value, and we exchanged it for something of lesser value. So shouldn't that mean we would get more of the lesser value?
Should.
And that's exactly what happened. So if we take that 10 to 1 ratio, and after we make that conversion, now you can go into a grocery store and you can get more than just $1's worth of goods. You can come out of there even with maybe a small grocery sack full of groceries.
Okay.
And you know, I've had clients share with me in our sessions, I remember when $10 could buy me a whole station wagon full of groceries.
Right.
I wonder how much $10 worth of groceries can you get today? What do you come out of the store with?
Small bag.
Small bag, correct, absolutely.
Maybe one meal.
Right,
Good
right.
meal.
So even when we back up and we make that comparison about 40 years ago and being able to buy a great 3-bedroom home for 2,000 Federal Reserve notes, today that same home would be 250,000. 40 years ago you could use 2,000 Silver Eagle coins. Today at that 10 to 1 ratio, you could actually purchase that same $250,000 home. That came off. utilizing the same 2,000 Silver Eagles. And what we see there is called purchasing power. One of them maintained their purchasing power, went up in purchasing power. The longer you kept it, the more valuable it became. And I even had a gentleman in one of my seminars. It was an older gentleman, and he was retired and working a job. And he says, you know, this is the first time that I have ever learned why, when I retired, I had to go back to work again.
Hey.
He says, when I started investing, I did all the right things you were supposed to do, invested with all the right individuals, but the dollar bill was worth 100 pennies. He says, no one ever told me to prepare for the virtual decline in the purchasing power of my dollar. So when I retired, I couldn't understand why my money would not go as far as it was projected to go. Now, with a $5.3 trillion deficit projected to go to $8.3 trillion, I would venture to say that most of our viewers need to start doing something to counteract the virtual continual decline of the purchasing power of the dollar. Because do you gentlemen think it has a chance of coming back if we're going from $5 trillion in debt to $8 trillion in debt?
And it's probably going to go down a little bit further.
Absolutely.
A lot further.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in that, this aspect of changing that savings, look at the truth of it, but look at the consequences if you don't. That means you're never going to retire in the manner that you choose to retire, or send your children to the school that they would like to go to, or even live in the home that you choose to live in. Truth or consequences.
Whoa.
In fact, a lot of people probably won't be able to retire at all.
Correct? And that's absolutely going to be the case.
That's a scary prospect. As a matter of fact, James, the information that you're sharing with us is probably shaking up a lot of our viewing audience.
I hope it does.
And now you're talking about the reality of the situation. Even
Correct.
though we've been taught something totally different, which is believing in the paper dollar,
Correct.
accumulating paper dollars, saving them and investing in them, that is not necessarily the best way to go. If you're thinking about retiring, if you're talking about building a savings plan that is actually spendable and can keep you at a level of existence that is comfortable,
100%.
and if we're talking about our children, an educational program, being able to provide for college and saving in, as you mentioned, Federal Reserve notes, which we call dollar bills,
Correct.
may not be a good idea. One
Well,
of-
to this point, history has shown that it hasn't been a good idea.
The most important thing for our viewing audience, we want to make sure that they can indeed afford the acquisition of tangible assets. And what you're saying, silver dollars are affordable
Correct.
to the average working guy,
Absolutely.
average working girl, and single person.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And again, it's just merely having a tool to build the same type of house. It doesn't have to do with you have to have mega millions. It just simply, if you use the same tools, same plan, you can build the same house. Now, it doesn't matter about trying to make anyone a Rockefeller or a Goldwater. All that matters is setting up the same type of security, you know, that these families have shared in for generation after generation. And even if you look around you, you'll see examples of the truth of what we're sharing with you. And just in my home state, we had a large greeting card family that donated over $80 million in art to our art gallery. Now, most people may ask, why did they donate $80 million in art to the art gallery? That's not the true question you should ask. The true question you should ask is, why did they have $80 million in art instead of a mutual fund or a 401k or an IRA?
Maybe they know something that most of us don't know.
That's absolutely right.
And maybe
Absolutely
that's the
right.
kind of information that needs to be made aware to all of us.
Truth or consequences.
Indeed, indeed. James, you are sharing some fantastic information with us, and we knew that we weren't going to be able to get everything in for one visit. That's why we scheduled you for 3 interviews. You must get comfortable, because we're going to come right back and interview you again. This information must be shared with as many people as possible. Is that okay with you?
That's completely fine with me, and I appreciate and honor the opportunity to do just that.
Great, great. I want to thank, most of all, you, our viewer, for tuning in. I want you to continue to tune in each and every week to Your Financial Wellness. I want to thank Capricorn One Production. I want to thank Bill Golowski and Cecilia Harris for doing such a wonderful job. Viewers, stay tuned and continue to prosper. Hello and welcome to Your Financial Wellness. My name is Tahuti Seymour Dishman, and I will be your host. As always, our goal is to continue to bring exciting financial information from exciting financial professionals. My co-host is with me, Romulus Dorsey, who is filled with a wealth of information and knowledge in the area of financial services. And today we are going to interview for the second time our special guest, Mr. James Aldridge. I hope everyone, once again, paying real close attention, taking notes, and doing what is ever necessary to remember what Mr. Aldridge is saying. Mr. Aldridge is a certified national trust officer. He has a wealth of knowledge and information in the area of finances, in the area of wealth building, and that is specifically what we're going to be talking about today. On our last interview, James got an opportunity to bring us up to speed on so many areas. Whew. Man, one of the first things, James gave us an opportunity to understand that the accumulation of paper money and investing that paper money in paper money instruments is not necessarily the best avenue for savings, investment, and building a portfolio for the future. James has already reminded us that it is important to acquire tangible assets. And at the end of our last program, Mr. Aldridge gave us an opportunity to see that the average working man and woman has the ability to acquire tangible assets in the form of regular, everyday, U.S. minted silver bullion coins. That's quite exciting because now I feel that I can invest comfortably and be ready for the future. Is that right, James?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay, well, I want you to please continue and give us that information, allow it to flow easy, and we're ready. Show us how to invest, show us how to grow financially wealthy, and show us how each and every one of the average Americans can do this.
Now, just to make sure with our viewers in our series here, to remind them of the concept we're trying to portray here, and that's the truth and consequences of not having this information.
Yes.
So we want to still deal with the truth as far as investing in this country is concerned, and what is possible as far as rates of return and who that's accessible to, and the consequences of the everyday individual not having that information in their hands. So sure, as we go into a savings account, now it's time to start moving into an investment mode. And what would be the reason behind that? Well, we need to set up college funds, retirement funds, and we want to have a source of income to fall back on that will be more secure than our jobs or the businesses that we may now run. Now, in our country, the investment information is limited to a certain group of individuals that qualify to receive such information. And they are known as what the industry calls as qualified investors.
Qualified investors. Now, what's a qualified investor?
Now, in order to be a qualified investor, now understand that a qualified investor will know whether 18% on his money is better than 8%. But if you're not a qualified investor, then you would know that difference. What is a qualified investor? An individual that has a minimum of $100,000 in net worth, $100,000 in clear investment capital, and $100,000 minimum income per year. Now, that's considered not only a qualified investor, but a smart investor. So if you do not meet those requirements, then you are considered not eligible to receive information that exists as far as the true types of security and rates of returns that are available within our country. Now, why does that mean that a 9-to-5 person with, say, a $40,000 a year job would not just as easily understand that 18% on his money is better than 8%?
I see no reason why he would not understand it.
It'd be easy.
Absolutely. And if we go through the avenue of educating and teaching them about investing, then of course they're going to be more astute investors. Now, since the advent of the internet, that no longer applies as far as I'm concerned, because people are more than willing to do their own research, and they have all type of e-trading and stock portfolios that are conducted on the internet, and you can do your own research. So I don't think that applies any longer today, but without being a qualified investor, you would not know about the type of investment accounts that are actually in place that whether the stock market goes up or down, you'll make money. Now, you'll have individuals say, oh yeah, I can teach you how to invest in that. It's called, when the stock's going down, then you buy low and you sell high. So what just recently happened with the e-commerce businesses on the stock market, when they went low, people were jumping